Where are we at in society today? Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
Go ahead. Make my day.
Every single week, I put my freaking heart and soul into this. I don't go out there and laugh. It's not funny. Nothing's funny to me. I don't want to go out there and get embarrassed on Monday Night Football in front of everybody.
I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
So ain't nothing changed from yesterday. Still the same person I was yesterday, and I got the same thing for you that I had yesterday. You know why I'm here.
You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it. That's the great thing about sports. You play to win. And I don't care if you don't have any wins. You go play to win. When you start telling me it doesn't matter, then retire. Get out. Because it matters.
Well, it was a really uneventful Wednesday, wasn't it? Tigers and Bucks get rained out, so they'll make it up in a double dip today. You know that. Starts at 1:10. Skeens in game 2, Scooble in game 1. NBA Finals are tonight. Game 6. OKC could wrap it up if they can win in Indianapolis. There you go. There's your update. Here's the Mitch Lyons-Well poll question of the day. Who's the greatest basketball player to never win a title? Barkley, Ewing, Malone, Baylor. There are others that we could get into. I suppose some people might say, hey, John Stockton, he's part of that. Should he not be involved in that conversation? Dwight Howard, Detroit's own Grant Hill, Carmelo Anthony, Tracy McGrady. Maybe what we should have done.
Chris Paul.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a really good one. You know, Chris Mullin. Maybe what we should have done is put it in eras. That might have been a better poll question.
Still can. I'm working on getting it tweeted out right now, so we can still tweak it.
All right. So can you put some years on that? Pre what do you want to do? Pre-2000?
Pre-2000, sure.
Or something like that. You couldn't do that with Karl Malone, though. Because Karl Malone played past 2000, as we all know. Right? Because he was part of the Lakers team against. So could you do pre-2005? And if that's the case, that'd be a good one. I mean,
that's where we draw the line.
You've heard of Bernard King, right?
Of course.
Okay. Bernard King was a son of a gun, man. He was a scoring machine. Hell, Adrian Dantley. You talk about resentment. Well, actually, we didn't talk about resentment, but we could. How would you feel if you're Adrian Dantley, you know, and you're a guy who was actually drafted by the Buffalo Braves in 1976? I don't know if people know that. I'm not sure you know. Do you know about the Buffalo Braves? I don't know. Okay.
I know they're the Clippers now. That's it.
Yeah. So Bob McAdoo played for the Buffalo Braves. What's it? Barnes. Oh man, I forgot his first name. Came to the Pistons for a little bit. I've just forgotten it. I mean, it's not Derek Barnes, but anyway, Marvin Barnes. Marvin Barnes played for the Braves. Adrian Dantley was drafted by the Buffalo Braves. He averaged 20 points and 7.5 rebounds as a rookie. This is a Hall of Famer, right? Had the chance, as you know, to be a champion with the Pistons, but remember, they got rid of him and they brought in Mark Aguirre. And to some, it may be one of those situations where he's, you know, Aguirre was the missing piece. I don't know. The rumors were true. Isaiah Thomas and Adrian Dantley did not like one another. There are players, this might surprise some people, but there are players on that Pistons team that didn't like one another. That's a reason why if you go, and we'll get into this a little bit later on with the best basketball player, best NBA player to never win a ring. When some people talk about chemistry, I'd love to know how important you think it is to a team. And the reason I bring that up is because with the champions we have in Detroit, especially the most recent championship in Detroit with the Red Wings in 2008. I mean, everybody seemed to get along, like one another, understand their roles. I think the Pistons in 2004 get along, love their roles, embrace them, okay? The champions of 84 with the Tigers, they came up together, so people automatically think they all got along. Well, for the most part, they did, okay? I'm not saying they were all best friends, but they did. Like, you and your buddies, however long you've known them, if they go someplace, they come back, it's, hey, man, you're back. I'm in town. Let's get together. It's not always the case with players. There are certain guys you have a connection with. Lou Whitaker and Chet Lemon were really, really tight, okay? But they don't get together and talk about the old times all the time. I was fortunate one time to play golf with Kirk Gibson, Lance Parrish, Alan Trammell. That was our foursome. It's pretty awesome. And you would think there would be a lot of reminiscing. There was not. You know, probably because they've gone over all those stories time and time again. But it wasn't about, hey, man, haven't seen you in a long time. Remember the time, ... So I've got a weekend where my buddies from grade school and junior high and high school, but some of them I've known since kindergarten, first grade, where we're getting together and playing golf this weekend. We're doing our golf outing. And that's what happens with us. We get together and the stories start flowing. You pick up right where you leave off. The stories start flowing, and a lot of it is reminiscing. A lot of these guys didn't do that, which surprised me, just because they have so many memories, so many different things. Unless you probe them, prod them along, then it doesn't necessarily happen. But think of Adrian Dantley and the regret, and you could almost understand the spite that he would have. I mean, he's 25th right now on the all-time scoring list, okay? One of 13 players in league history with at least 22,500 points, 5,000 rebounds, 2,500 assists, and 900 steals, okay? He was on that team in 1988. Think how history could change if the Pistons didn't lose to the Lakers in 88. Would Mark Aguirre have been brought in? It's tough to change a championship team, right? I mean, the Lakers did it early on. Paul Westhead out. In comes Pat Riley from a coach. A player's standpoint, you just win a championship and you're going to get rid of one of your key guys. That would be odd. And it's not like it's an expansion draft. They did that after 89 because there's an expansion draft from Minnesota. Rick Mahorn, you had to protect a certain number of players. Rick Mahorn was exposed. Minnesota took him. I'm sure people know that. How much regret would you have? How pissed off would you be if in 1988 you lost a 7-game NBA Finals series? You think you're on the cusp. Next year, because of your spat, you're out, and the team you just helped get to the finals and got rid of you wins it all, and then wins it all again. That's a tough pill to swallow, man. Anyway, you can vote on the Mitch Lyons Wealth poll question of the day as often as you want at XB Mornings. That's how we come your way. When we come back, and that was a quick segment. When we come back, I saw an article yesterday about how good the Panthers were in winning the Stanley Cup. And because of that, the Red Wings now have to do that. I strongly disagree with that. We'll get to that when we come back here on X's and Bros. Glad you're with us on a Thursday morning. It's a Tullymore Thursday. Oh, man.
Huge here from my good friend Josh Garvey. Now, he runs Dorn Mayhew's Grand Rapids office in downtown GR. They're one of the world's top accounting and CPA firms. Their worldwide headquarters in Troy, Michigan on the east side of the state. If you're a business looking to work with professionals who will help you every step of the way. Turn to Josh Garvey and his team at Doran Mayhew. Also, don't forget Doran Mayhew brings you Coach Beeline and Josh every Tuesday, talking hoops on the huge show across Michigan.
The stock market has been all over the place, and if you're nearing or in retirement, it's probably got you nervous. Will you have enough to retire? Are you worried about running out of money? Are you sick of hearing, just ride it out? What can you do differently to ensure that you have enough to retire comfortably with an income that's guaranteed to last your lifetime? Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth, and I've got great news for you today. I'm a featured expert in a groundbreaking film called The Retirement Deception. This film reveals exactly how you can create a guaranteed income with your nest egg protected from market volatility. Wall Street may not want you to see this film, but I do want you to see it at no cost. That's right. It's absolutely free when you call today. I want you to know the truth about retirement. A secure retirement is achievable. Call today to speak with one of our retirement specialists to get your free copy of The Retirement Deception. Call 866-85-STEEL. That's 866-857-8335. Again, 866-857-8335. Or go to MitchLyonsWealth.com. Your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement.
You're listening to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard on the Michigan Sports Network. And if you missed any of today's show, be sure to check out our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you find your podcasts to find the greatest hits from every day's show.
Huge here for Van Andel Institute Purple Community. Now, they're a grassroots fundraising network powered by the volunteers who support VAI's mission to improve health now and in the future. Learn more at purplecommunity.org.
Back with you on X's and Bros 18 after the hour. We're brought to you by MichelinsWealth.com. Thanks for staying with us. The tradition, it seems like it's a tradition, but the lore of hockey players and their toughness continues. At some point, it'll be revealed what Connor McDavid's injury is. I don't think that's been revealed yet. You're aware of what two stars for the Florida Panthers played through, I hope. You saw this, right? Alexander Barkov, their captain. Hell of a player. Incredible leader. Best defensive forward for the second time in a row and third time in his career. He's now a two-time Stanley Cup champion. In game one of the finals, he split his right hand in the middle wide open. It required stitches. Those were torn open not once, but twice. You know what he did? He glued it together and still averaged over 23 minutes a game, which is impressive. But not to one-up him, Matthew Tkachuk, who, by the way, in the 2023 finals against Vegas, in which Florida lost, had a broken sternum and played. In this series, Matthew Tkachuk had another horrifying injury. He tore the adductor muscle off the bone and had a hernia. Has anyone had a hernia? The pain that it's crazy that a guy could handle that. I'm not saying it's the worst injury you've ever seen. I've talked about Jack Youngblood playing on a broken leg in the NFL playoffs with the Los Angeles Rams at the time. I've talked about Nick Lidstrom's injury and how it was, you could hear him screaming while getting treatment for it in the 2008, or was it 9 Stanley Cup playoffs? Either way, Nick Lidstrom battled through some horrific stuff that was in the nether region. Okay, let's just put it that way. The tearing your abductor muscle off the bone and having a hernia and still playing and leading and winning is truly one of the badass things you've ever heard of in sports. And when you hear of those stories, not that everybody's not built the same. We understand that, okay? And I'm not going to hold it against people. But damn, when you hear that, doesn't it make it really hard for you to accept, at least in the finals, if that's the regular season, he's not playing, right? I think that's fair to say. But when you see a guy go through that, persevere, and prevail, that is beyond leadership. Two guys, one's the captain, one's the assistant captain, going through that and coming out on top. Whew, that is some kind of tough. Yes, we've had stories of this in the past. Not specific injuries, but guys gutting through certain situations. Know all that. Doesn't it make it really hard for you to witness another athlete say that they're injured, and then you say, that's okay. I understand why you want to be wheeled off in a wheelchair, why you want to take yourself out. You just never know. Now, it can affect your performance. Pitchers getting blisters. This is something that has been a long running joke. pitchers who get blisters and then say, I can't throw, I can't do what I need to do. It does affect them. It's hard to compare somebody who injures their pinky finger, Will Vest, and tell them to gut their way through it. After all, look what Alexander Barkov did. After all, look at what Matthew Tkachuk did. That's not necessarily fair, because one does get hindered in throwing what it's required in order for you to get outs. That's your job. I suppose you could argue, well, Alexander Barkov has got to shoot the puck, and he does that with, I think is he right-handed or left-handed? Either way, with his hand on the stick. Matthew Tkachuk has to be able to skate. It's tough to skate when you've torn your abductor muscle and you have a hernia. Different scenario. One's regular season, mid-season, don't want to lose him. This is season ending. So tough to compare the two. But you get where I'm going with that. With a player who is willing to do as much as he's done, as much as they've done, in an effort to give their team a win. You may not like them. Alexander Barkov, you probably don't have much of an opinion on. Matthew Tkachuk, I'm sure you have an opinion on. You may not like him. I love players like that. I do. I don't know what it is. It's interesting. Darren McCarty, we love. Bob Probert, we love. Joey Kocur, we love. Sean Avery, we loved. But the guy in the mirror of them wearing a different uniform, we don't like. If you had Matthew Tkachuk, you would love to have Matthew Tkachuk. Is he the equivalent to Bill Laimbeer? Both super talented players. Get under your skin, stand up for other players, their teammates, and produce. And that's the key. You can love Sean Avery all you want. Wasn't a real highly productive player. This guy's a productive player. And obviously, Alexander Barkov is a super productive player. Now, with that said, Free Press yesterday wrote an article about how the Panthers gave you a really good example of what Detroit needs. You've got some free agents on that team. So immediately, you need to go out and try to acquire them. A guy like Sam Bennett, who won the Conn Smythe, the MVP of the Stanley Cup playoffs, had 15 goals, had 7 in the Stanley Cup finals, didn't score 30 during the regular season. I think he's the second player all time, is what I said yesterday, to have not scored 30 goals, but scored 15 or more in the playoffs. If you signed him to a long-term heavy contract, you would, and he puts up the numbers he put up for Florida during the regular season, you would be livid. The things that these guys add are not found in a box score. How much are you willing to pay for grit, toughness, hi Dan Campbell, and leadership? And elevating your play during a playoff series at the most needed time. We'll get more into it on the other side. X's and Bros, Monday through Friday, 6 until 9. We're brought to you by MitchLionsWealth.com. This is a Tullymore Thursday. Tullymore, St. Ives, going to be headed there in July. Can't wait, because it is a fantastic, fantastic round of golf and a fantastic way to spend a night, a weekend, or even a week at their fabulous facility. Go to TullymoreGolf.com.
Saturday, July 26th, Rock and Roll Hall of Famers, Foreigner. Live at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort with special guests Loverboy and Night Ranger. Tickets start at $32 and are on sale now at the box office or online at etix.com. The Soaring Eagle Summer Outdoor Concert Series welcomes Foreigner with Loverboy and Night Ranger July 26. Showtime 7 p.m. SoaringEagleCasino.com.
Huge here for Van Andel Institute Purple Community. Now, they're a grassroots fundraising network powered by the volunteers who support VAI's mission to improve health now and in the future. Learn more at purplecommunity.org.
Mitch Lyons here, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth, where we create your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. I'm here with Tiger legend Kirk Gibson, who we are proud to support and partner with on the upcoming Kirk Gibson Center for Parkinson's Wellness.
Thanks, Mitch. We appreciate your support, and we are excited to be launching the center in Farmington Hills this fall. It will provide exercise, therapy, and educational programs that will help the Parkinson's community. Just like Mitch Lyons Wealth helps improve the quality of their clients' retirements, this center will help improve the quality of life for people with Parkinson's.
And Gibby, the best part of all is that access to the center will be available to the Parkinson's community free of charge, right?
That's right. Absolutely free of charge for people with Parkinson's and the caregiver.
You hit a couple of the most famous home runs in Major League history, Gibby, but I feel that your greatest hit will be the positive impact the Kirk Gibson Center will make in the fight against Parkinson's.
Since my diagnosis, I get up every day and focus on winning that day. This center will encourage others to do the same.
Awesome, Gibby. To learn more, go to kirkgibsoncenter.org.
What's up, Michigan? You're listening to my good friend Shep. The huge show is coming up later today at 3, right here on the Michigan Sports Network.
I was playing this game with a friend of mine last night, and welcome back to X's and Bros. I'm Matt Shepard. I said to them, what do you think the biggest need is for the Tigers? He said bullpen. I said right-handed hitting third baseman. I cheated. I combined the two. I said, what do you think the need is for the Red Wings? And he said, a number one center. I said, I agree, 100%. I read the article in the Free Press. This is what prompted me to ask the question. I read the article in the Free Press, and not that it's a bad one, because it's a good one and makes you think. I should say, and most of the people I talk to about hockey loved the toughness of the Florida Panthers. They are in your face. They are 200 feet. Every single zone. It's not congested. It's just tough to play through. You have to have a want to against Florida. And that was proven. Edmonton's really good, right? It's unfair to constantly label them as strictly an offensive team. Now, I don't think they have great stay-at-home defensemen, but they have two of the best players in the world, and yet they still didn't win. Their goaltending's not great. Their defense isn't great, and they're not super deep. You need to build depth. Should you look more at how much a guy's going to produce during the regular season, or is he built for playoff hockey? You got to get to the playoffs before you can be playoff-built hockey. I complained about the Red Wings not having a high scorer. Trent, do you know who the Red Wings leading scorer was? And I'm talking about points here, not goals. Who was it?
Alex DeBrincat?
No, it was Lucas Raymond. He had 80 points, but Alex DeBrincat led them in goals. So that's the reason I tried to make the distinction, but you're right. Do you know who led Florida in scoring? And I mean points. No. Sam Reinhart did. Do you know how many points he had? More than Lucas Raymond?
120?
No, 1. Sam Reinhart had 81 points.
Oh, wow.
That led the Florida Panthers. The second leading scorer was Alexander Barkov. He had 20 goals and 71 points. I'm sitting here preaching to people on a regular basis. You've got to get a number one center. You've got make a guy who is scary to play against. How about making a guy who is tough to play against? Now, think about it for a minute. Tampa was, Tampa was so good. All right. From a talent standpoint, if you look at Tampa, don't tell me you wouldn't want Nikita Kucherov, because you would. He's one of the best players in the world. He's one of the highest scoring players in the world. All right. Tampa had 3 guys who had more points than Florida's leading point collector. Kucherov, Brandon Hagel, Braden Point. Hell, Jake Getzel had 80 points for Tampa. 80. So he was right there on the cusp. How did that work out? It's about depth, right? It's about a lineup and a roster that can deliver. So I said, Lucas Raymond, 80 points. Alex DeBrincat had 70. Raymond was 1 point away from beating the leading scorer on Florida. DeBrincat was 1 point away from being their second leading scorer because he had 70. And by the way, so did Dylan Larkin. In other words, the top 3 guys for the Red Wings had more points than the top 3 guys for Florida. That seems odd, doesn't it? Now they've got Sergei Bobrovsky. They have Aaron Ekblad. They have Carter Verhaeghe, who plays a certain role. Really good role players. So when I hear or read, you know what? Florida just won it all. Here's what we need to do. We need to go pillage a couple of their players. Bennett, who turns 29 tomorrow, or a guy like Brad Marchand? It then begs the question. Now, both of them, Marchand's not 29. He's in his mid-30s, but he's a proven player. If Bennett's not the Conn Smythe Award winner, you know who is? It's Brad Marchand. So here's what you have to ask yourself. Do you want the guy who can help get you to the playoffs? You know the name. The name is Mitch Marner. And you can understand why. Uber talented. Really good goal scorer, good passer, 102 points, 27 goals, 75 assists for Toronto. Helps to play on the line with William Nylander, Austin Matthews. Helps to have guys like John Tavares. Really good, high-end team. All right? Matthew Nice. The question is, would you want a guy like that who can get you there, but who in the playoffs is not as high a performer, although he did lead Toronto in the second in Toronto in playoff points, but only had 2 goals. He and Austin Matthews did not perform as well as you would like. I love William Nylander. William Nylander really shined in the postseason for Toronto. So would you want a guy, when you look at a guy like Mitch Marner, still young, 28, not a center though. Sometimes we're splitting hairs in that regard. Defensive responsibility important, face-off responsibility important, all those things. Do you want a guy like that who could give you 100 points, who could be your regular season leader? Or do you want a guy like a Sam Bennett who is not going to lead you in points during the season? You're going to get a guy like that, and he's going to post 55 points for you. And you're going to go, what the hell's going on? His average in his career, and he's played 11 years in the NHL. Do you know what the average points he has per season? Could be skewed a little bit because that incorporates the first year in which he only played 1 game. 40. Think about that for a minute. You sign a free agent. You think you got the difference maker. He comes into your team. Let's not use the 40 number because, like I said, it can be very skewed. So let's instead use his best year. Oh, that, ironically enough, was this season with 51 points. So let's use that. Where does the 51 points rank when it comes to Red Wings hockey? Well, that would be just above Mo Seider and behind a mid-30-year-old Patrick Kane. That's where it would be. If you signed him to a long-term deal, I don't know how long the contract would be, and you gave him $6 million, which would be overpaying for regular season production. Could we, at some point, can we see through the forest through the trees? Can we see through this stuff to say he brings more to the table than just points? That's hard to do, man, because you want production. If I said to you last offseason, the Pistons are getting Tobias Harris, I want your first reaction. What was it? I know exactly what it was. Dude doesn't perform in the playoffs, Shep. Dude's a little bit older. What can he really bring to this team? You know what he brings? In addition to modest production, decent production, okay? Good player, right? He's not making any more All-Star games. But what does he bring? There's a calmness with him on the floor. There's a guy out there who makes sure he's helping others get better. He's helping younger players grow. We don't always see that. We just don't. Because if we're not looking, at least in this case, with Florida. How many of you are watching Florida every night? You're not. Okay. And I can't expect you to because I'm not either. But you see what a guy like Bennett, what a guy like Brad Marchand, what a guy like Aaron Ekblad, what they bring to the table. There is a steadiness, an understanding, and a calmness that team plays with. A lot of it, not all of it, because Alexander Barkov is like that. A lot of it stems from these guys. There has to be a balance on a team. The emotion you and I share when we watch our teams is awesome. You can't get that emotional if you're a player all the time, and you sure as hell can't have a roster full of guys who are always acting like that. Things are out of control. Things would be completely out of control. The emotional part of things, it's a really hard thing to curtail. I played golf one time with a PGA pro at Warwick Hills. And I'm an okay golfer. I'm not going to embarrass myself, but I'm not great. Okay. No one's going in a first round. My first round pick is Matt Shepard teeing off on number one. That's not happening. All right. I shoot low to mid 80s. There's nothing special there. But this player, so one time I'm hitting it, because we all want to be successful, and we all want, that's the reason we're out there. It's the competitive juices. Unless you're a couple of friends of mine who are just out there for the beer. I don't care where it goes. You lost another ball. That's okay. Throw another one in the bag. I get really angry when I hit a bad shot. And the owner says, well, you really can't do that. And then he starts to talk about the shot. And I said, I know, but it really pisses me off because, I'm working on this and working on that. He says, no. You don't understand. What I'm telling you is you can't get that mad. You're not good enough to get that mad. In other words, reel in your expectations, dude. Who are you? Identify who you are. This was a long time ago, so I wasn't even as good as I am right now. And I use the word good very loosely. So if I know that I'm a mid to or low to mid 80s golfer, and I'm out there and I happen to shank one off the tee, do I have the right to really get super angry when it's not like I'm going to the driving range every day? When you go out and you sign a guy like Sam Bennett, I want you to ask yourself, and I'm not saying that's what they're going to do, but that's what the article suggests. What is it you're expecting of that player? If you're expecting him to be another Mitch Marner, since that's originally where you wanted to go, you're going to be really disappointed. And the organization has to understand that too. This is not a situation where you're bringing in a Javier Baez, who's been an all-star, who's been on a World Series championship team, who's won a Gold Glove, who's getting over $25 million a year, and is expected to be the key cog in the middle of your lineup, or maybe at the top of your lineup. That's what the expectation was. Folks, that's why you're so disappointed, at least in the first 3 years. You can't be disappointed with his play this year. He's been really good for the most part. He went through a spell, okay, in mid to late May where it was a real struggle. And I get it. The expectations are high and so on and so forth. It's going to happen. Yankees lost again yesterday, folks. I don't know if you know that. So they've lost 6 in a row. I don't know if they're panicking, but that's the expectation, and they're failing to meet it right now. That's frustration. That's disappointment. That's underachieving, even though they still lead the division. Same thing with Javier Baez until this year. If you were to go out and get a Brad Marchand or a Sam Bennett, I hope we would all understand that their greatest value might be, or definitely is, more than just in the box score. Doesn't mean I don't expect him to score. Although, knowing who Sam Bennett is, I hope you also realize that the most goals he's ever scored was 28, and that was 3 years ago. Would you be okay with a guy who perhaps scores some clutch goals, although this year had just 4 game winners? Most game winners he's ever had in a single season, 7. Would you be okay with a guy who's going to give you, for the most part, low 20s? He's going to give you 22, 23 goals. But it's not like he's a dangler who feeds guys and suddenly you're looking at the second coming of Wayne Gretzky as a guy with eyes in the back of his head, makes some unbelievable passes. That's not who he is. The most assists he ever had in a season was this year with 26. So 25, 26, 51 points, a minus 15 this year for the Panthers, was a plus 17 last year. So those are the things you're going to have to take into account. Don't get wrapped up all in just the Stanley Cup Finals and the playoffs and say, that's the guy we need, until you look at what he does during the regular season and is that worth the payoff? If it's not worth the payoff, think about it. If you don't get to the playoffs, and that's where he truly excels, because he's never really excelled during the regular season. We got him for the playoff. You got to make the damn playoffs first. And then the finances come into play, of course. Marchand's a little different. He's been a guy who's produced during the regular season, all right, and in the playoffs. But people don't like him because of his attitude. So what? If it's the attitude that you need because you play, quote unquote, too nice, what difference does it make? What you want, and I understand it's a cliche, but you know what? It's a cliche because, damn it, it works. You want sandpaper. That's what you need. You need an edge. This team does not have it. From what I've witnessed this year, they do not play with that edge. And I know it's hard to do for 82 games. But if you're talking about those two guys, forget about the 15 playoff goals for a minute. Forget about the 20 playoff points in 22 games for a moment. Think about what they bring to the room and the edge in which they play and how that might be contagious for this team. That's as important as anything else. Our phone number on the Meyer hotline is 866-838-4843. You can text us at Sports Radio 21,000. We're brought to you by MitchLyonsWealth.com on a Tullymore Thursday.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive boys and girls high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
There's a new player in town. Hi, I'm Herman Moore, Lions All-Pro wide receiver, and I'm talking about Eagle Casino and Sports, the real money mobile casino. It's so easy to play. You can go from wager to winner to wallet, just like that.
Sign up now and we'll match your deposit up to $1,500. Or you can get a risk-free bet up to $1,000.
Eagle Casino and Sports. Made in Michigan, made for Michigan.
Must be 21 or older in Michigan to play.
Mitch Lyons here, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth, where we create your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. I'm here with Tiger legend Kirk Gibson, who we are proud to support and partner with on the upcoming Kirk Gibson Center for Parkinson's Wellness.
Thanks, Mitch. We appreciate your support, and we are excited to be launching the center in Farmington Hills this fall. It will provide exercise, therapy, and educational programs that will help the Parkinson's community. just like Mitch Lyons Wealth helps improve the quality of their clients' retirements. This center will help improve the quality of life for people with Parkinson's.
And Gibby, the best part of all is that access to the center will be available to the Parkinson's community free of charge, right?
That's right, absolutely free of charge for people with Parkinson's and the caregiver.
You hit a couple of the most famous home runs in Major League history, Gibby, but I feel that your greatest hit will be the positive impact the Kirk Gibson Center will make in the fight against Parkinson's.
Since my diagnosis, I get up every day and focus on winning that day. This center will encourage others to do the same.
Awesome, Gibby. To learn more, go to kirkgibsoncenter.org.
Saturday, July 26th, Rock and Roll Hall of Famers, Foreigner. Live at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort with special guests Loverboy and Night Ranger. Tickets start at $32 and are on sale now at the box office or online at etix.com. The Soaring Eagle Summer Outdoor Concert Series welcomes Foreigner with Loverboy and Night Ranger, July 26th. Showtime 7 p.m. SoaringEagleCasino.com.
Save a good deal more all across the store with the Meijer $1 deal sale. Choose from hundreds of items, all $1 each, like extra large fresh avocados and large mangoes, assorted varieties of Chobani Greek yogurt, Kraft macaroni and cheese, assorted flavors of Haagen-Dazs or Ben & Jerry's 4-ounce ice cream cups, and Meijer Essential Double Roll paper towels. The Meijer $1 deal sale going on now through Saturday. That's the good life, a good deal better. Exclusions apply. See Meijer.com for details.
Thanks for listening to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard, only on the Michigan Sports Network.
Second hour of the program. Glad you're with us. We're sponsored by Meyer here on X's and Bros. Our thanks to our partners. We don't call them advertisers. We call them partners. It's great people like MitchLionsWealth.com, Meyer, Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort, Tullymore, and St. Ives, which is fantastic. By the way, more. I don't know what this league is trying to do. I'm going to be honest with you. Trent and I were just kind of talking about it. You see what happened to Caitlin Clark and blah, 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 blah. It wasn't long. It was just a couple of days ago, I think, where Indiana was playing one of the teams. I don't know if it was Connecticut or whatever. But the league at least the league is being talked about. Is there something to be said for that, Trent, do you think? I mean,
yeah, is it kind of like the all press is good press type of deal?
Do you believe that phrase that, any type of notoriety is good notoriety?
I think in that league's case, yes, I believe in that for sure.
It does get people talking about it, doesn't it?
Yes.
Which then forces what? The media to at least follow it a little bit closer. Is there going to be a confrontation against Caitlin Clark tonight? At some point, I would think it gets a little old. I don't know if you want – look, why is it – I can't be hypocritical here. Why is it acceptable for Bill Lambier to give a hard foul, Rick Mahorn to give a hard foul, Wes Unseld back in the day give a hard foul, Karl Malone give a hard foul, and not – sorry, I can't reel off a lot of WNBA players' names, and not certain players in that league. Well, why is that acceptable?
I think it's part of a bigger picture, and you and I were talking about this during the break, is that it just seems as though the league and those players aren't embracing her, and the hard fouls come across as jealousy, at least in my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't seem it doesn't seem genuine. It doesn't seem like they're just giving a hard foul to give a hard foul, just send a message. It seems like they legitimately hate her.
You're saying they're targeting, is what you're
doing.
Okay. I don't know how endearing she is. Okay. She plays with an edge too. I'm not trying to compare her to Matthew Tkachuk or Brad Marchand, who we just got done talking about. Okay, that's not what I'm doing. But she does play with an edge. And players who play that style are very divisive.
Yeah, you could almost say you're asking for it sometimes.
Yeah.
If you choose to play that way, have that sort of attitude and edge, like you said.
Yeah, Angel Reese is probably the same way. I think it's a bad model for the WNBA when you know those two players who are just in their second season. One is uber talented, Caitlin Clark. The other is hardworking, Angel Reese, which is interesting because it always used to be reversed. The stereotype was reversed. Look at how hardworking that white guy is to try and play in the NBA, right? And then, it's come so natural for the black athlete, right? That's what that was the stereotype. Fair, unfair, right or wrong. That was the stereotype. Now it's the other way around. There's hard fouls with Angel Reese too, and she gets after people. What's the problem there? The finger waving are we going to let that go from LSU, for crying out loud? Can we stop? I mean, do we sit there and every time a guy pimps a home run, Juan Soto, and ends up at second base or thrown out, Juan Soto, do we sit there and hold it against him all the time? For at some point we got to get rid of, move on. The reason we bring this up is because they're in the news again because of hard foul, chest bumping, people being pissed off at one particular player, that player then walking away, that player being unfairly targeted, and so on and so forth. But we also look at it and we're like, man, I can't believe the amount of money that some are willing to pay for a franchise like that. The Liberty, for a stake in the Liberty, went for $450 million last year. The Lakers just sold for $10 billion. Mark Walter bought the Lakers majority ownership for $10 billion. What's the ROI on that? These guys got, they have more money than they know what to do with. So I suppose it really shouldn't matter too much to them. But anytime you work with a billionaire, it's not like, well, $100,000 is like $1 to you and I, Shep. Okay, that may be the case. It doesn't mean that they're willing to just give it all away. They still want a return on their investment. Remember, Mark Walter is a guy who bought a minority share of the Lakers just 4 years ago. Okay. But with him taking that minority share, he bought 26% stake. Part of the agreement was that he gets the right of first refusal if the Buss family choose to sell their majority stake, 66%. So Mark Walter, knowing that Jeannie Buss and company were going to sell the majority stake, she'll still have a stake in it. She'll still be the governor for a period of time. But it's $10 billion. Mark Walter, Midwest guy, went to Creighton, went to Northwestern, got his law degree there, and became friendly with people who made big time money on Wall Street, founded the Liberty Hampshire Company, okay, and then was able to begin a company called the Guggenheim Partners, which is estimated worth is about $330 billion right now of assets. And he owns 21% stake in that. He's the CEO of the Guggenheim Partners that has assets of $330 billion. Think about that. That's a heavy responsibility. That's a lot of coin. So I'm not saying he's got $330 billion. He might, I don't know. But if you have $330 billion worth of assets, it doesn't mean you have $330 billion in your bank account. He's got enough to get $10 billion to get the Lakers. I just wonder, I can't help but wonder, how do you make that money back? It's not just through TV rights deals. It helps. These guys, they just want to own something, right? They just want to own something. $10 billion. What was it? The Celtics, Trent, went for $6 billion. Was it last year? I think it was last year.
Yeah.
Tom Gores, what did he buy the Pistons for? $400 million? They'd be sold for. You could buy I bet you the Pistons would sell for at least $3.5 billion these days.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Somewhere
When did Gores buy him? Was it 08, 09? Does that sound right?
Yeah, sounds about right. When was Blake Griffin's first year in Detroit?
2017.
2017. I don't think 2008 seems like a long time. I would say a little bit after that. Well, I'll have to look that up. I don't know exactly when it was. But either way, that's an investment. If you plan on eventually selling it, and most of them do. That's kind of what they get into. They want to buy things, they want to own things, and then they want to sell them off. Eventually.
And by the way, Tom Gores bought the Pistons in 2011. There you go.
11. Okay, yeah. So it wasn't too much further from what you said, but yeah, I know it was a little bit later on than that. But yeah, I would say somewhere in that neighborhood. That the $10 billion, which is the largest for any franchise in North America, is just incredible. I just can't get over it. I'm trying to wrap my head around what the return of investment might be for that. Speaking of basketball, the NBA family lost a guy who used to play for the Pistons yesterday, and he was the number 2 overall pick. Everybody remembers the ones. Not many remember the guys afterwards. We'll get to that when we come back on X's and Bros. We're brought to you this hour by Meyer on a Tullymore Thursday. Glad you're with us on X's and Bros.
Coming right at you. The excitement you've been waiting for. Eagle Casino and Sports. The mobile casino made in Michigan, made for Michigan. Play slots and table games with live dealers at one exciting site, playeagle.com. Sign up today and get a match deposit up to $1,500. That's right, up to $1,500 plus 100 free spins. Eagle Casino and Sports. Go to playeagle.com and start winning today. Must be 21 or older and in Michigan to play.
This is Matt Shepard. If you're like me, you want to create memories when you golf, and there's no better place in the state of Michigan to do that than Tullymore, where the people are as genuine as the golf itself. Tullymore will create a custom-made golf package for you with discounts that allow you to save up to 30%. Look, these special experiences are more than just golf. It's about lodging and dining and service. Nowhere do you get all of that better than at Tullymore in St. Ives. 2 championship courses with unlimited special memories waiting for you. Go to TullymoreGolf.com.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at FreddieThePizzaMan.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit FreddieThePizzaMan.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI, Together, we can make a difference.
Save a good deal more all across the store with the Meijer $1 deal sale. Choose from hundreds of items, all $1 each, like extra large fresh avocados and large mangoes, assorted varieties of Chobani Greek yogurt, Kraft macaroni and cheese, assorted flavors of Haagen-Dazs or Ben & Jerry's 4-ounce ice cream cups, and Meijer Essential Double Roll paper towels. The Meijer $1 deal sale going on now through Saturday. That's the good life, a good deal better. Exclusions apply. See Meijer.com for details.
Typical night for us. Very loud, extremely loud. It feels like the court is shaking when we're here. They give us that boost we need. Felt like they were standing the whole entire game. They're into the game, which is rare for a crowd. I think Indies was that way too. So it's been two really cool atmospheres to be in, but it's just so loud here.
That's Jalen Williams. Welcome back, X's and Bros. You have the Oklahoma City Thunder talking about how loud it is at his building. It gets loud in Indiana, too, and it will be raucous tonight for Game 6 between the Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder. We're brought to you by Meyer here in the 7 o'clock hour. The NBA world lost somebody yesterday, David Greenwood, who played for the Pistons for a period of time. He was 68 years old, played at UCLA, was a 4-year starter there, was a 2-time Conference Player of the Year, led his team to the 1979 Final Four. One of John Wooden's last players, ranks 4th on the school's all-time rebounding list, was a first-team All-American, and was the 2nd overall pick in 1979. That's a tough year to be the 2nd overall pick, considering one of the greatest players of all time was the number 1 overall pick, Magic Johnson. I absolutely loved watching Magic Johnson play basketball with the Lakers. Loved him. It's funny because at Michigan State in 1979, and I was just a kid then, but I think my favorite player was Ron Charles on that team, or Terry Donnelly. I like those two guys. And I think it's because it's not that I didn't appreciate and enjoy watching Magic Johnson. I knew the history, Lansing, Waverly, and everything. Or Greg Kelser, who was an All-American, phenomenal player. And to be friends with him now is kind of ironic. But Ron Charles and Terry Donnelly, Mike Berkovich from the corner. But those guys were really, I don't know why I liked Ron Charles so much. He was just the junkyard guy of that team. So much love, and rightfully so, to Magic Johnson, Greg Kelser, Jay Vincent. But I really liked Ron Charles. Anyway, I digress. Magic Johnson was the number 1 overall pick in 79. David Greenwood was number 2 out of UCLA. And he was drafted by Chicago. He was later, ironically enough, traded from Chicago to San Antonio for George Gervin. George Gervin started his career playing with Dr. J, ended his career playing with Michael Jordan, which is interesting. Anyway, he told us that when we had him on our air. Was it last week or 2 weeks ago, Trent? Either way. Bill Cartwright, Seinfeld episode. Cartwright, 3rd overall pick by the Knicks, but was later traded to the Bulls, where a lot of people, remember him there in Chicago with Jordan and Pippen and those guys, winning championships. The number 4 overall pick was Gregory Kelser. And I think he's a fantastic analyst. Love him. I remember saying to myself, I want Sidney Moncrief out of Arkansas. And he turned out to be an incredible player for Milwaukee. Ironically enough, 2 picks after that, the 7th overall pick, you know who it was? It was Vinnie Johnson. Vinnie Johnson out of Baylor went to Seattle with the 7th overall pick. The Pistons had 2 top 10 picks that year. They picked Gregory Kelser, and they picked Roy Hamilton. Roy Hamilton was on that same UCLA team as David Greenwood. Roy Hamilton actually was better known as an executive at Fox than he was as a basketball player in the NBA. Fox Sports. Pistons also could have had Cliff Robinson, could have had Jim Paxson. Later, they picked Phil Hubbard. That's right, Phil Hubbard out of Michigan. So they had 3 top 15 picks that draft 2 top 10 picks that draft and missed on all of them. With all due respect to Gregory Kelser, because he got injured and he was traded later from Detroit to Seattle. He played 6 years. That's it. Roy Hamilton played 2 years. That's it. Phil Hubbard at least had a nice long career, had 10 years in the league. But Greg Kelser, it was the injuries as much as anything else, just wasn't the same player in the NBA as he was in college. There's nothing wrong with that because he was an All-American and a hell of a player at the collegiate level. But how many times do you remember the number 2 guy? We remember once, but how many remember number 2? If you're just tuning in, it sounds very strange, doesn't it? When you're talking about 1 and 2. Do you remember number 1? You have to know. You got to go number 1? No, you got to go number 2. Okay. Anyway, think of this. Who are some of the best number 2 picks all time? Bill Russell was number 2. Kevin Durant was number 2. Jerry West was number 2. Isaiah Thomas was number 2. Those are pretty good players, don't you think? And if you don't want to go that route, Rick Barry, Jason Kidd, Gary Payton. We remember one of my favorite players, Wes Unseld, was a number 2 overall pick. Bob McAdoo, I had just been talking about the Buffalo Braves, remember? Bob McAdoo, who ended up being a Piston, was terrible with Detroit. Really good with the Lakers. Leading scorer with Buffalo. He was the number 2. Alonzo Mourning. Dave Bing, the former mayor, Hall of Famer, one of the best Pistons of all time. Can make the argument he's the second best Piston of all time. He was a Rookie of the Year, 7-time All-Star, 3-time All-NBA selection, averaged 20 points per game. So pretty damn good. He's in the conversation behind Isaiah Thomas. He was the number 2 overall pick out of Syracuse. Made the All-75th anniversary team. Probably one of the more underrated players of all time. But think about that. Ended up going to Washington, Boston. But that's impressive stuff. We remember the ones. How many guys do we remember? Sure, if they end up excelling, we remember them as a great player. But oftentimes we've got to be jolted in our memory banks to say, hey, they were the 2nd overall pick. If you want to bring it a little bit closer to home, or at least modern day right now, John Morant in 2019 was the 2nd overall pick. Think about that. When you go through it, you could every NBA draft, or just about every draft, if I say to you, I give you the name, you're like, oh yeah, like Joe Barry Carroll, for crying out loud. Remember when he came out of Purdue in 1980? He was the 1st overall pick. The 2nd overall pick was Dr. Duncanstein, Darrell Griffith, out of Louisville. And Griffith was an incredible player. And then it was Kevin McHale. But that's a pretty damn good draft. David Greenwood was number 2, 1979, behind Magic Johnson. Unfortunately lost at the age of 68. Okay, when we come back, we just talked about this yesterday. And then we find the same conversation in the newspaper later on in the day. I'm not saying they took it out of the show. It's ironic that it comes your way via the newspaper after we had discussed it yesterday morning. We'll get to what we're talking about when we come back. It's a Tullymore Thursday here on X's and Bros, and we're brought to you by Meijer.
Van Andel Institute Purple Community is a grassroots fundraising network powered by the dedicated volunteers who support VAI's mission to improve human health now and in the future. When you raise funds through the Van Andel Institute Purple Community, 100% of the proceeds go directly to the Institute's research into diseases like cancer and Parkinson's, as well as VAI's science education programs. Learn how you can get involved at purplecommunity.org.
In the den,
Step up to the plate with Eagle Casino and Sports, the mobile sportsbook app that you can bet on all your favorites all year round, including, of course, our national pastime. So download the app and start winning today at Eagle Casino and Sports. Made in Michigan, made for Michigan. Must be 21 years or older and in Michigan to play. This is Matt Shepard. In the double dip today, we get Tarek Skubal, the best left-handed pitcher in the game in Game 1, and the best righty in the game, Paul Skeens, in Game 2. We love and admire Skubal for his dominance last year and so far this season, but I hope we can also appreciate the Pirates' mutual feeling for their guy. In 15 starts this year, Skeens has allowed 2 earned runs or fewer 13 times, and 5 times he's left the game without allowing a run. His ERA is a paltry 1.78, better than Skubal's, and yet he's won just 4 games all season. Baseball's a beautiful sport while watching 2 of the best pitch, but it's also a cruel one. Just ask one of them, the right-handed starter.
You're listening to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard on the Michigan Sports Network. And if you missed any of today's show, be sure to check out our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you find your podcasts to find the greatest hits from every day's show.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
What's up, Michigan? You're listening to my good friend Shep. The huge show is coming up later today at 3, right here on the Michigan Sports Network.
Back with you on X's and Bros 35 after the hour on this Tullymore Thursday. Thanks for joining us. This hour is brought to you by Meyer. Tigers and Pirates will play 2 today, one at 1:10, the other at roughly a little after 5 o'clock or so. Andrew Heaney against Tarek Skubal in the series or the day opener. And then it's Paul Skeens against a TBD, that famous TBD, which means AJ Hinch gets to mess around a little bit with his opener and then the bullpen, I would assume. I guess my initial reaction is this. If you're going to move the game back, this is selfish. Okay, can I get that out there first and foremost? Why couldn't you give us Skeens against Skubal? I would understand it if you're in line for pitching. Okay, you're in line for your pitching day. Skeens was supposed to pitch today. Skubal was supposed to pitch yesterday. Yesterday gets rained out, moves it back a day. He's still on pace to pitch on the day he was supposed to pitch. Am I wrong? No. Skubal's actually getting an extra day. From a baseball perspective, a baseball purist, a selfish son of a gun, yours truly, why can't you give us Skeens against Skubal? I don't get it. Oh, I'm sorry. He's got to pitch the third game of the series, but he's pitching it on the same day as the second game of the series. Well, why, Don Kelly? Why can't you fix that? I'm not managing for you. Well, okay, I understand that. I don't expect you to manage for me. I preface this by saying I'm selfish. I want to see the 2 best pitchers, although Chris Sale would say something different last night. Did you watch that at all? Did you see what Chris Sale did? Are you aware of the dominant performance that he gave? This guy won the Triple Crown last year too. This guy was incredible last night, but was incredible last year. Chris Sale for the Atlanta Braves, he was on point. Last night, all of last year, had his best year. Cy Young Award winner, got his 5th win last night. What did he do? He went 8 2/3, gave up 5 hits, struck out 7 through 116 pitches. Brian Snitker took him out after 8 2/3. You know why? There was a little bleeder down the first base line. He dove to stop it, and then from his knees threw out the batter. Runner, whatever. Then Brian Snitker goes, okay, that's it. I'm going to get Rasul Iglesias, who threw 2 pitches and got the final out. Like 116, 118 would have been a huge difference to give the guy the complete game, but whatever. Hasn't thrown a complete game in years. I digress. It was a pretty good matchup for Chris Sale. I want to see the matchup of Paul Skeens and Tarek Skubal. Again, I wanted to see it when you saw what was on the schedule, when you're looking ahead. I don't know how far you look ahead. Maybe it was 3 weeks ago. Hey, the Pirates are coming to town. You know what that means? That means you get Paul Skeens in town. He's the guy worth watching. I've always admired Andrew McCutchen. I like him. I think Brian Reynolds is kind of an underrated player. All right. Brian Hayes, good player. Most people will go watch the Pirates. It's must-watch TV when Paul Skeens is pitching because of how dominant he is. I get that Paul Skeens has just 4 wins. His ERA was 1.78. You just heard in the den that I gave you. He's got a better ERA than Tarek Skubal. That doesn't make him a better pitcher. But what he has going for him right now is pretty damn impressive. I'm not taking anything away from Andrew Heaney. He's the one pitching against Skubal today. He's been around for a dozen years, played most of his time in Los Angeles, never won more than 9 games, a career ERA of well over 4, all right? But I'm not trying to take anything away from him. All I'm telling you from a baseball standpoint, why couldn't we get, and it's not conspiracy theory here. It's not, you know what, baseball needs to step in. No, they don't. We've got enough big government in our lives. We don't need big leagues to tell us what we're supposed to do. Let the guy manage the way he thinks he's supposed to manage. I don't know how much it's going to matter for the Pirates anyway. They're 29-45. They've lost 3 in a row. They're the only team in the National League Central that has a minus in run differential. Every other team is over 500 except for the Pirates. They're not going anywhere. So if that's the case, again, selfishly, couldn't Don Kelly give baseball fans what they want? Part of the argument might be, it's a 110 game, dude. How many people are watching? Well, sometimes, can you do what's best for the game? Again, not taking anything away from Andrew Heaney, not taking anything away from who's ever going to start Tyler Holton, the second game for the Tigers against Paul Skeens. How about giving us the marquee matchup of the year from a pitching standpoint? It doesn't get any better than what you have. I know people like to look at opening day. This is who we've got. We've got Skubal going up against the Dodgers, and here's Glasgow. No. This is the best matchup in baseball. You have the opportunity to give us the best matchup in the game so far this season. June 19 or 20 or whatever the hell it is. I think it's the 19th. You've got a chance to give us the marquee game on Major League Baseball's schedule. Think about that. You've got a first-place team that people are suggesting could go to the World Series and a last-place team that people are suggesting needs new management, needs new ownership, needs to perhaps sell off some of their young assets. That's the dichotomy you're looking at, the difference between the two teams, and you've got a chance to see the marquee matchup between those two because you've got the best left-handed pitcher in baseball and the best right-handed pitcher in baseball, in my opinion. People in Atlanta after last night's Chris Sale performance might differ. I'll go to war with that. Let's go. Okay, I'll take Skubal. You take Sale. That's fine, Atlanta Braves fans. Let's have a good debate. People in Los Angeles might say Shohei Ohtani from the right side instead of Paul Skeens. People in Philadelphia, Zach Wheeler. Perhaps that's the case. I would go to bat and say Paul Skeens. Let's go. 15 starts, 13 starts. He's allowed 2 runs or fewer. 5 times it's been 0, and yet he's got just 4 wins. How crazy is that? With that ERA. It's great stuff. He's an incredible pitcher. And he's consistent. Look at his whip. It's a .854. That's walks, hits, innings per pitch, or innings pitched. Okay? .854. Put that in perspective. You and I think Tarek Skubal's the bomb, right? He is. Cy Young, Triple Crown winner, all that stuff. We love it. His whip, .80. That's how good these two dudes are. One's got an ERA below 2, or both of them have an ERA below 2. Some would round up Skubal's because it's 1.99. Skeens is at 1.78. One guy's got 7 wins, almost twice as many as the other dude. Lack of run support, so on and so forth. Helps to play on a good team, right? Wouldn't you love to see that? As a baseball purist, as a favor to baseball in general, give us that. I understand why you wouldn't move him up if the series were 3 games in 3 days. You've got 2 games in 1 day. He's pitching anyway. What difference does it make? Some would say it's the mental aspect. I'm pitching the final game of the series. It's the day. Oh, some guys don't like pitching and getting up really early and going to do that part of the that part of the day to get it done. Some guys, they need to get going a little bit more. Are you trying to tell me that Paul Skeens has never pitched during the day in his career? I find that very hard to believe. You can make up all the excuses you want. I find it really hard to believe that he wouldn't be able to adjust. It would be good for baseball. I think those 2 guys would absolutely love it. because I know you're not playing against one guy or the other, but you're pitching, you're trying to match wits. It's the same thing like with quarterbacks, right? Patrick Mahomes, you're up against, Matthew Stafford. Not really. That's what he'll tell you. I don't play against the other team's quarterback. Okay, I understand it. All I'm telling you is from a baseball standpoint, from a purist standpoint, these are the things that I think need to be taken into consideration a little bit more. That's what people want. This is what would be good for the game. I would love this stuff. And I think everybody would be all over it. And if you're looking for notoriety, come on. And I would, just for clarification standpoint, Paul Skeens has pitched in more games during the day games, than he has night games. So I can't accept that possible excuse. Well, he was destined to pitch game 3, Shep, and he would have to get up earlier than he normally would. He'll be staying back at the hotel. We're going to keep him at the Townsend in Birmingham. He'll take a later bus later on. He doesn't have to get up early and throw the first game. I got news for you, man. The third game of this series was going to be a day game anyway. So what difference does it make? It's frustrating from a marketing standpoint. I mean, and that's not what it should be all about. It's part of it. It's okay to say, you know what, this is what's best for baseball. Speaking of baseball, yesterday we just had a off-the-cuff conversation about how it wasn't long ago where we thought the teams in Detroit, it would be the Lions who would bring home the new or the next championship. When you looked at it and you said, all right, who's got the best chance at being Detroit's next champion? It would have been the Detroit Lions. And that was, by the way, a feeling that just took place over the last couple of years, 2 years ago. It's not like 1935, okay, when you got the City of Champions. The Tigers won the World Series in 35. Lions are winning NFL championships. Red Wings are dominating, right? Joe Louis was champion. We were all, this is the City of Champions. Love to get back there. Don't know if you can, but it'd be great to get back there. Everything's going right in the city of Detroit. When the Lions win 15 games, you wish they could have completed the deal. We were all disappointed. The Pistons have that miraculous turnaround from 14 wins to 44. And the Tigers make the playoffs and now are legitimately a World Series contender. TV ratings are through the roof, all this stuff, right? But a couple of years ago, you could have named a lot of different teams. We didn't know. We didn't think the Tigers were on the right path. Dan Campbell each year has gotten more wins, but did you really think you were going to get this out of them? 15 wins, back-to-back division champions? Perhaps you were a little bit more of a Nostradamus than everybody else. The Pistons you thought were helpless. Okay. Most of you really thought, the Red Wings, you believed in the Red Wings more than any other team. Now they're the team with the least amount of belief behind them. So the Free Press writes an article. Which team is bound to win the next championship in the city of Detroit? Which team is buying instead of selling? Remember, the last team to hold a parade was the 2008 Detroit Red Wings. Really thought they were going to do it again in 2009, but Pittsburgh beat them at Joe Louis Arena. It's a tough one to swallow. Sidney Crosby. Oh, he didn't reach center ice soon enough. Can't stand that guy. Did you watch the celebration in Florida the other day? It took a while for the Panthers to break up their mosh pit behind Sergei Bobrovsky and find center ice to shake the hand of Connor McDavid. Anyway, the belief was back then, I truly believe that more people thought the Red Wings would be on the right path because of the guy they've got in charge than anybody else. Now they're the least. Now people still believe Lions. Now it's Tigers and then Pistons. and then Red Wings. I wonder what it would take. What do you think it takes for you to believe the Tigers have the best shot more than the Lions? When you have the best record in baseball, and it's a deep resume, and you've seen it enough. You've seen enough of what's going on here, right? When you have the best record in baseball, that's a convincing argument. Like in your head, I know what you thought. Last year, you were with me. I think they're going to the Super Bowl. I think they're going to win the Super Bowl. Those were tough phrases for us to admit. You know why? Because we've never done it. It's incredible. We're like, okay, I can't believe I'm saying this, but we said it about our other teams. So not that it comes natural, but because it's been 41 years for the Tigers, but you've at least seen it.
Sometimes you got to see something to believe it.
Yeah.
And before the Lions even won a playoff game, it was like that was the bar, right? We knew the team was good, and we knew they were winning all these games. They finally win the division, but until they win the playoff game and get that monkey off your back.
But the bar always moves. It always moves. Like, it moved for the Pistons this year. If I told you before the year, Pistons are going to make the playoffs, you'd have been like, that's awesome, Shep. Absolutely. Then when they get the Knicks and they win in New York and they get home court, then what happens? The bar moves. I expect them to beat the Knicks. Same thing happened with the Tigers. If I told you in late July or early August when they were awful, and I said, by the way, they're going to make the playoffs. I've seen the future. They're going to make the playoffs. You're going to be like, oh, a 0.2% chance? Absolutely. Double thumbs up. I'm happy. I'm happy, Shep. And then they beat Houston. You're like, okay, bar moves. Now I expect them to beat Cleveland. And you know what? And you and I took calls on this. You know what? I think they can beat the Yankees. So I think they're going to the World Series. That's how quickly things can change. And it's the same thing now. I think while we're living in this Tigers pandemonium, and for good reason, because they're so good, we're all going, yeah, they're the next team. We're not going to have to wait for the Lions next year. This is the team that's going to win it all. I don't care if they play the Yankees in the ALCS. I don't care if they play the Phillies or the Mets or the Dodgers in the World Series. This is your World Series championship team. Phone number on the Meyer hotline, 866-838-4843. You can text us Sports Radio to 21,000. We're brought to you by Meyer on a Tullymore Thursday. Glad you're with us.
The $1 Million Summer returns to Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort, and it's time to turn up the heat. Every Saturday through August, we're giving away over $1 million in premium play. From 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., 6 lucky guests will win $500 in premium play every half hour. That's 150 winners every Saturday. Your shot at sizzling summer wins is here, only at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Your getaway reimagined. Visit SoaringEagleCasino.com for complete rules and details.
Mitch Lyons here, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth, where we create your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. I'm here with Tiger legend Kirk Gibson, who we are proud to support and partner with on the upcoming Kirk Gibson Center for Parkinson's Wellness.
Thanks, Mitch. We appreciate your support, and we are excited to be launching the center in Farmington Hills this fall. It will provide exercise, therapy, and educational programs that will help the Parkinson's community. Just like Mitch Lyons Wealth helps improve the quality of their clients' retirements, this center will help improve the quality of life for people with Parkinson's.
And Gibby, the best part of all is that access to the center will be available to the Parkinson's community free of charge, right?
That's right. Absolutely free of charge for people with Parkinson's and the caregiver.
You hit a couple of the most famous home runs in Major League history, Gibby, but I feel that your greatest hit will be the positive impact the Kirk Gibson Center will make in the fight against Parkinson's.
Since my diagnosis, I get up every day and focus on winning that day. This center will encourage others to do the same.
Awesome, Gibby. To learn more, go to KirkGibsonCenter.org.
Save a good deal more all across the store with the Meijer $1 deal sale. Choose from hundreds of items, all $1 each, like extra large fresh avocados and large mangoes, assorted varieties of Chobani Greek yogurt, Kraft macaroni and cheese, assorted flavors of Haagen-Dazs or Ben & Jerry's 4-ounce ice cream cups, and Meijer Essential Double Roll paper towels. The Meijer $1 deal sale going on now through Saturday. That's the good life. A good deal better. Exclusions apply. See Meijer.com for details.
Van Andel Institute Purple Community is a grassroots fundraising network powered by the dedicated volunteers who support VAI's mission to improve human health now and in the future. When you raise funds through the Van Andel Institute Purple Community, 100% of the proceeds go directly to the Institute's research into diseases like cancer and Parkinson's, as well as VAI's science education programs. Learn how you can get involved at purplecommunity.org.
There's a new player in town. Hi, I'm Herman Moore, Lions All-Pro wide receiver, and I'm talking about Eagle Casino and Sports, the real money mobile casino. It's so easy to play. You can go from wager to winner to wallet, just like that.
Sign up now and we'll match your deposit up to $1,500. Or you can get a risk-free bet up to $1,000.
Eagle Casino and Sports, made in Michigan, made for Michigan.
Must be 21 or older in Michigan to play.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
touchdown, we're going to get up. And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off.
Home run! Home run! He hit it a mile! Let's give them the keys to the Hall of Fame, but not tonight. Tonight they are in the Stanley Cup. Steve Eiserman, come get it.
It feels like cool. Heaven must be lying. I got one question for you, Michigan Nation. Who's got it better than us?
Right center field. That's got carry. It's gone. Number 500 and history for Miguel Cabrera.
Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Yes. This game is over. They score. Red Wings win. Detroit basketball.
We'll be talking some basketball later on tonight and tomorrow morning because it's Game 6 of the NBA Finals tonight in Oklahoma City. Welcome to the final hour of X's and Bros on a Tullymore Thursday. We're brought to you this hour by Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. I'm Matt Shepard. The Tigers and Pirates square off today in a double dip after getting rained out yesterday. Our Mitch Lyons Wealth Poll question of the day. We have one for you every single day. You can find it on Twitter at XB Mornings. Who's the greatest basketball player to never to have won a title? Trent has adjusted that a little bit. Prior to 2005 is what we put in.
Pre-2005.
So Charles Barkley, Patrick Ewing, Karl Malone, Elgin Baylor. There are other names we could have put in there. We did not, but we could have put plenty of really good players. We're going to extend that maybe, perhaps tomorrow. I don't know, but we'll do it after 2005 because Trent brought up a really good one. I mean, Chris Paul is an excellent one. I could have put in John Stockton. There's so many, but I just chose those four because I think those are the four best, and I think it makes you think a little bit. So you can vote as often as you like at XB Mornings. Follow us on Twitter, and we'll give the results tomorrow in the 8 o'clock hour. I was reading yesterday something, anytime there's a headline that talks about bust alert, I think like somebody, we brought this up yesterday. I think it's a ridiculous thought that the Bleacher Report would say Terrion Arnold might be a bust. Like, okay, it's 1 year, first and foremost. Second of all, it's a really hard flipping position to try and adjust to. Thirdly, he got better as the year wore on. Now,
tell him, Shep.
Well, look, I have told people this time and time again. I know what it's like to host a national. It's really hard. Hosting a national show, doing a national show is really, really difficult.
Having a pulse on everything that's going on.
Yeah, it's really hard, man.
And not sounding like an idiot, actually trying to sound educated.
Well, I don't think that's a factor anymore. Otherwise, many people wouldn't be on TV doing it right now.
Okay? That's fair.
So I don't think it matters. Okay, you can just stir people up. You can give a stupid opinion or hit the low-hanging fruit, Trent, which is what happens.
Right.
What do you want to talk about today? I got an idea. What? I can't wait for this. Let's talk about the Knicks. Or even better, I got an idea. Yeah. Leaning in. Let's talk about the Cowboys. Oh,
that's the one.
No, it's more than that. It's the Yankees. It's the Dodgers. But
the Cowboys is that's like
it's incredible, man. It really is. But we accept it as a society. We want more of it. Click. Let me see some more of the 411 network.
Yeah.
That's the reason they keep doing it. And the reason they keep doing it is because that is what you're watching. That is what you're listening to.
They wouldn't do it if it wasn't working.
You wouldn't think. Although there's plenty of debates about the way certain people handle things these days, and they haven't learned their lesson at all. So maybe that's not the case. But anytime there is a bust list, I think to myself, got to see if a local guy is on it. And we've talked a little bit about national things. I think that's fair. People are interested in more than just Lions, Tigers, Red Wings, Pistons, Michigan State. Okay. We've branched out. It's okay to talk a little bit about players and or teams that aren't your team that might be struggling or having success. As I brought up earlier, the Yankees have lost 6 in a row. People are freaking out. Here's the good news. They scored 3 runs yesterday. They had been shut out in 3 straight games. I'm not going to talk about the Yankees too much. I do like Aaron Judge. I do like Aaron Boone, but so what? Lose. Something the Tigers haven't done. Not lose, but I mean go in stretches of really difficult times that make your fan base go, I don't know about this team, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
Ask yourself
They win series, and when they lose a game, they bounce right back seemingly every time. Aside from the beginning of the season against the Dodgers.
Yeah, and they're the defending world champs. They're really good, and Detroit played them pretty tough. But outside of, you're going to lose series. You're not winning every series of the year for crying out loud. Okay. But I noticed it. Was it a weekend ago or a little bit more when Detroit split the 4-game set with the White Sox? Oh, they're terrible. Okay, I get it. So in other words, when Detroit was terrible 3 years ago, and they actually won a series, you weren't giving them any credit, right? That's basically what you're saying. That's when people are like, oh, you got to beat a team like that. Dude, it's 162 flipping.
I was going to say, if they're going to win 40 games, the White Sox.
Relax a little bit. Was I surprised that they lost a series to Milwaukee or Cincinnati? Yeah, I was. Was I surprised they split with Chicago? Sure.
Would you be surprised if they lose the series to Pittsburgh?
Yes, I would.
Me too.
But here's the reason. Because you've got a guy who, in the matchup, is just so daunting against Pittsburgh. Okay? With Tarek School. They've already won the one game, as we know. So now you're in line to win the series with your best pitcher and the best pitcher in the American League.
You would think.
Arguably the best pitcher in baseball. Definitely the best left-handed pitcher in baseball. But as I said to you the other day, they also have their guy who stops skids. The difference there is they don't give him any run support at all. So their offense, even against in a bullpen day, Detroit's got a chance because Pittsburgh's offense stinks.
Was it Skeen's last start that they lost 1-0?
Don't know if it was his last start.
It was,
but it
might have been 2 ago. But yeah.
It was recent. It was recent. It's a tough go. It's a tough go for a guy like Paul Skeens. When you're as good as he is, and he is lights out good stuff. All right,
He's awesome. I think he's the second best arm in baseball.
I'm not going off the deep end and going to try to convince you that he's the second coming of Bob Gibson. But I'm not suggesting that Tarek Skubal's the second coming of Sandy Koufax or Randy Johnson either. But these are the two best pitchers in baseball. And no, Paul Skeens went 5 innings in this last game. They lost 2-1 to the Cubs. You might be, I don't know, the 1-0. That was way back against Philadelphia. But I don't
might have been a while ago, but it went viral. I remember seeing the scorecard and Paul Skeens pitched lights out in the.
Yeah, he's lost one.
The Pirates lost 1-0.
He's lost 1-0 just once this year, and that was in Philadelphia.
Either way,
he pitched 8 innings, and struck out 9. Gave up 3 hits in the run, and they lost.
The point is they don't give him run support, and that's something to watch tonight.
Right. When you pitch 5 times, you leave the hill, and you've got a 0 against the other team. 5 times. When you go off the mound, 13 of your 15 starts, and there's only 2 runs or fewer, you're doing your job. No question. You're doing your job. But the bust alert is interesting. It's very interesting to hear what they have to say and write about certain players. So I told you, Bleacher Report brought up Terrion Arnold. I think it's ridiculous. I'm going to give you some names that might be on that bust alert watch list, according to this website, and see what you think when we come back on X's and Bros on a Tullymore Thursday, brought to you by Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive boys and girls high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
In the den. Step up to the plate with Eagle Casino and Sports, the mobile sportsbook app that you can bet on all your favorites all year round, including, of course, our national pastime. So download the app and start winning today at Eagle Casino and Sports. Made in Michigan, made for Michigan. Must be 21 years or older and in Michigan to play. This is Matt Shepard. In the double dip today, we get Tarek Skubal, the best left-handed pitcher in the game in Game 1, and the best righty in the game, Paul Skeens, in Game 2. We love and admire Skubal for his dominance last year and so far this season, but I hope we can also appreciate the Pirates' mutual feeling for their guy. In 15 starts this year, Skeens has allowed 2 earned runs or fewer 13 times, and 5 times he's left the game without allowing a run. His ERA is a paltry 1.78, better than Skubal's, and yet he's won just 4 games all season. Baseball's a beautiful sport while watching 2 of the best pitch, but it's also a cruel one. Just ask one of them, the right-handed starter.
Thanks for listening to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard, only on the Michigan Sports Network.
Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink and other leaders who are moving Ferris forward. Find out more about Big Rapids and Ferris and what they have to offer at ferris.edu.
18 after the hour. Welcome back on a Tullymore Thursday. We're brought to you by Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Our phone number on the Meyer hotline is 866-838-4843. I see in our jobs, we're forced to follow social media. Whether we like it or not, you do get some good information. I see a lot of videos of fights on the golf course. And I wonder, just out of curiosity, how do fights start on the golf course?
Someone doesn't yell for.
Okay, that's possible.
I think that's probably 90% of them.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Maybe it's slow play. Can we play through?
Oh, that could be it too. Yeah.
What's taking you so long? But you're probably right. Hitting into somebody is that. But don't tell me alcohol doesn't have something to do with it either. All right, it's got to be part of it. I mean, I saw a video where these dudes. I mean, literally. Okay, you've got 4 carts, 8 guys. They're all fighting in the middle of the fairway. How is that possible?
On. Like,
I don't know how that's possible. From guys coming up from behind, like maybe it's slow play. It's got to be at some point something was spurred on by you didn't yell for, or what are you hitting into us for, or why are you hitting up our back, all that other stuff. It's amazing. You're supposed to go out there. It's supposed to be an enjoyable day. And you got guys rolling around taking, uppercuts at another dude who just put his 3-wood away.
It's probably a buildup too, It's probably like a 3-hole progression of slow play, or you hit into us twice, and then finally the dam breaks. And then these guys start throwing hands.
But I'm wondering after that, how do you gather yourself and say, okay, it's your tee box. All right, I'm a 150 away. Hey, can you bring me my 8-iron? Okay, there we go. All right, settle in. Dude, you just parted. I know, I got a black eye, but it was worth it because I got a par. Let's go to the phone lines, the Meyer hotline, 866-838-4843. Who's up on this Tullymore Thursday for us?
We got Freddie. He's got some thoughts on athletes without a ring.
How you doing, Freddie?
Hey, man, that's hilarious because I golf with a mutual friend of ours all the time, Rieger. We don't get in the fights, but nobody can throw a club farther than Jeff Rieger. I'll tell you that right now.
Well, that's I don't like playing. I don't like playing with people like that, to be honest with you. You're not good enough to get that angry. I've played with him before.
Yeah, he always does it. He always does it once in a while.
He's a good enough. Yeah. He's a good enough guy, but he's got an awful swing, and there's no reason for him to get angry. Get angry at yourself. That's fine, but don't be throwing clubs and endangering other people because you're not. By the way, you're lucky if you win a skin, let alone the round. So let's be careful there. But anyway, go ahead.
I hear you. We golfed Sunday with your guy Carlos. He bought a new driver, and
he's good though.
300 down the middle.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, he is good. He is good. He had a little bit of an off day, but he was good.
Yeah, he's good. I wouldn't say 300. Let's be careful. Don't exaggerate. It's not 300. He doesn't hit the ball 300 yards. No.
260. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say. But, what do I always say, Freddie? I always say this, Freddie. The biggest liars on earth are recreational golfers and fishermen and gamblers. You always hear about the gamblers and their winnings. The fishermen, you always hear about the ones they caught, not the ones they got away. And golfers, dude hits a 300 yards. Relax, dude. The hole's 346 and you're 109 away. He's not hitting at 300 yards. All right. Do you know how hard it is to hit at 300 yards? You know how long you have to be to hit at 300 yards? The dude we had on Monday who played at the U.S. Open at Oakmont, he hits at 300 yards. I like Carlos. He's a good man, and he's a good golfer. He doesn't hit at 300 yards off the tee box.
I know. I like him, so I gave him an extra 40 yards. But you know what the problem is. You know what the problem is with golf in these fights is these golf courses, they pack you in like sardines.
You're right.
Space you out a little bit.
100%.
They pack you in, try to make as much money as they can. That's what they're doing, and they're gouging and listen, I'm a businessman, but I don't believe in gouging. But anyways, here's my thing. I got 2 names for you for athletes, but I'm going to give you a fun fact. I know you like your Spotted Dog beer. when you're sitting at the bar with your friends and you want to give a guy a trivia question. I was doing some research on Dan Campbell a couple months ago.
Yeah.
You brought up 2008, the last time we held a championship in this town. Yeah. He was on the 2008 team, obviously, with the Detroit Lions when they went 0-16.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at his stats, he only played one game, one catch, 21 yards. He was hired in January of 21, turned this whole franchise around. And to me, it's like crazy.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Yeah.
He was at the lowest of lows to now kind of the highest of highs. And,
I didn't know that about him individually on that team. I knew he was on that team because I covered it, unfortunately. I called the preseason games, and I was at every press conference with Rod Marinelli. It was painful. But I didn't know that statistic about him. That's a good one. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, he was on a disabled list, I believe, or with IL, excuse me. But anyways, two names for me locally, Grant Hill and Chris Spielman.
Mm-hmm.
Especially Grant Hill, a guy with no title. I mean, we all talk about Cade Cunningham, but guys like Trent, your producer, don't remember Grant Hill. Grant Hill was great, beyond great.
He
was didn't work out here.
He was an all-around player. I mean, he was the equivalent to a five-tool player in baseball. Had he won a championship or maybe multiple championships, he would be in the conversation for and spent his career in Detroit. He'd be in the conversation for best Piston of all time. He would be. That's how good Grant Hill was. I mean, when you make a general manager, in this case, Billy McKinney, cry because you get the chance, that's pretty awesome. And he was a phenomenal player, no doubt.
And Chris Spielman, we're not going to confuse him as the greatest linebackers of all time in NFL history, but for the Lions, he was just a great teammate, a great player. And unfortunately, if you remember back in the day, people don't want to talk about this now because Spielman and the Lions are popular, but the Lions basically kicked them out the door. They kicked a lot of those players out the door, but Spielman was one of them. And I remember, just like Lance Parrish leaving, when he left, it sucked. It really did. And so it's good to have him back. So
that's good.
Thanks,
I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Freddie. That's good stuff. It sure makes me think, and he's not suggesting that Chris Spielman is Joe Schmidt. Joe Schmidt's greatest linebacker in Lions history. Chris Spielman's in the discussion. The weird thing was when he left Detroit and played for Buffalo, it was one of the more, and he played every single game for Buffalo the following season, started every single game. The weird thing for that for me was just seeing him in a different uniform. Now, I can't recall, I don't want to say kicking him out the door. They didn't handle it great. I can tell you that. And they never really did. But here's what people might forget. The following year, he got hurt. The year after he left Detroit and went to Buffalo and played that year and started all 16 games, he had 157 tackles. The year before, 137 with Detroit. In fact, when he led the league in tackles in 1994, he had 194. He led the league, 195, I'm sorry. Led the league in tackles, led the league in solo tackles with 124. That was his best year. His second best year was his first year in Buffalo. From a tackle standpoint, 157, which was the second most in his career, and the 111 solo tackles were second most in his career. That's a good one from Freddie. 10 years in the league and a badass with ass capitalized and an exclamation point afterwards, and every single one of them. You talk about durability. Every year in Detroit, he played and started all 16 games except for one when he was hurt in 2000 or in 1990. And I saw him with his shirt off when he pulled a pectoral muscle. It was disgusting, but he played through it. And some guys were a little envious / upset with him because he played through so many injuries. That dude's the epitome of what Detroit should be all about. No doubt. That's an excellent one. Thanks, Freddie. We're back after this on X's and Bros.
The stock market has been all over the place, and if you're nearing or in retirement, it's probably got you nervous. Will you have enough to retire? Are you worried about running out of money? Are you sick of hearing, just ride it out? What can you do differently to ensure that you have enough to retire comfortably with an income that's guaranteed to last your lifetime? Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth, and I've got great news for you today. I'm a featured expert in a groundbreaking film called The Retirement Deception. This film reveals exactly how you can create a guaranteed income with your nest egg protected from market volatility. Wall Street may not want you to see this film, but I do want you to see it at no cost. That's right. It's absolutely free when you call today. I want you to know the truth about retirement. A secure retirement is achievable. Call today to speak with one of our retirement specialists to get your free copy of The Retirement Deception. Call 866-85-STEEL. That's 866-857-8335. Again, 866-857-8335. Or go to MitchLyonsWealth.com. Your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement.
What's up, Michigan? You're listening to my good friend Shep. The Huge Show is coming up later today at 3, right here on the Michigan Sports Network.
Coming right at you, the excitement you've been waiting for. Eagle Casino and Sports, the mobile casino made in Michigan, made for Michigan. Play slots and table games with live dealers at one exciting site, playeagle.com. Sign up today and get a match deposit up to $1,500. That's right, up to $1,500 plus 100 free spins. Eagle Casino and Sports. Go to playeagle.com and start winning today. Must be 21 or older and in Michigan to play.
You're listening to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard on the Michigan Sports Network. And if you missed any of today's show, be sure to check out our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you find your podcasts to find the greatest hits from every day's show.
X's and Bros, Monday through Friday, 6 till 9. Welcome back. Freddie brings up a really interesting point. With Chris Spielman, he really was one of the best linebackers in franchise history, but to retire with the Buffalo, or the last team you played with the Buffalo Bills, to me is, it just doesn't fit. You know what I mean? It doesn't.
Yeah, it looks weird. It's like Patrick Ewing retiring with the Magic.
Yeah.
In the spirit of our poll question.
Yeah.
It's just weird to see him in that jersey.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that's so true. It just, like, people
doesn't look right.
People were talking about Brad Marchand, right? And they're like, oh, what? How do you retire? Or how are you now in Florida when he's just so synonymous with, the Boston Bruins? And my thought was, okay, I mean, I get it, but Johnny Unitas retired with the San Diego Chargers. He's a Baltimore Colt through and through, right?
Of course. Joe Montana with the Chiefs?
Yeah, played a couple of years there, and he was productive. I suppose that's the difference. But yeah, San Francisco,
Okay, that's
is
fair.
what you think of him. Joe Namath with the Jets, he was horrible with the Rams. Horrible, right?
Yes.
One of my favorite players is Akeem Olajuwon in the NBA. Phenomenal player.
I know where you're going with this.
You know, he played with Toronto. That was his last team. And
Yep.
what made me think of this, in addition to what Freddie was talking about, I saw something the other day. It was a picture of Willie Mays with the Mets. And it was a picture for either, the program or the media guide or a baseball card. And the caption was, "Has anything looked more uncomfortable?" And I thought, well, Yogi Berra as a Met doesn't make me feel super comfortable. Franco Harris as a Seattle Seahawk didn't make me feel really comfortable. Karl Malone as a Laker seemed odd to me. Emmitt Smith as an Arizona Cardinal seemed very strange to me. You know what I mean? Those are the Chris Spielman as one of them. Yeah. When I say, do you know who Harmon Killebrew is? I hope you do. I mean, you talked to your grandfather a lot.
Yes.
Okay. He was one of the greatest. He really was. I mean, he's one of the greatest players of all time. He had 559 homers, with Washington and then Minnesota. Number retired with Minnesota. He retired. His last season was with the Kansas City Royals. Okay. That to me is nuts. Bobby Orr played for the Chicago Blackhawks. I don't know if people remember that. That to me is very odd. Anyway, those are some of the things that draw my attention when he says that. Oh, Shaquille O'Neal. Would you ever thought Shaquille O'Neal would have played for Boston?
No.
Yeah, but it did. I mean, it happened. It's very, very strange that guys are wearing certain uniform. I'm not talking about Jason Williams of the Sacramento Kings, for crying out loud. I'm talking about iconic players here. So
all-time greats, like potential top 10 players in their respective sport, that when you see the snapshot in history of them wearing a jersey or a certain uniform, and you're like, why the hell did that happen?
Yeah.
And Shaq wearing a Celtics jersey is one of those things.
Yeah, look, there are certain we all want our heroes to be with one team. We want the Alan Trammell and the Lou Whitakers of the world.
Or you identify
but we
them
also
with one
forget
team.
that, no, I think these guys are identified with the one team. You mentioned Joe Montana. He's identified with San Francisco. We
For
want
sure.
them to play their entire careers there. That's what we're asking for.
Be a lifer.
We want that. And yet we conveniently forget Jack Morris in Toronto and Minnesota, and actually played in the Cincinnati organization before he got out of it. Kirk Gibson with Pittsburgh, and not just the Dodgers, but Pittsburgh and the Royals. Do we forget that Tony Dorsett played for Denver? We remember him as a Dallas Cowboy, but he also played for Denver.
Yeah, most of us do forget that.
Yeah, so it's those are kind of the ones that make you stop and pause for a moment. And I suppose it's a little different these days. It's a little different these days with contracts and the amount of money that's going around, and you can understand why guys are jumping and so on and so forth. And it's one thing to do that. And then another thing, if you go there and have success, Ray Bork, for example, going to Colorado and winning a cup, but it
still doesn't feel right.
It just doesn't fit because of what those legendary players did in those markets, how influential they were in those markets, and the success they had. To me, there are certain guys who are supposed to stay there. Guy Lafleur, you don't remember him. Guy Lafleur with Montreal is where it's supposed to be, but he did play for Quebec. He played for the Quebec Nordiques. That seemed odd. Not that this guy's an icon, but Sean Alexander, to me, is a Seattle Seahawk. And yet he played for Washington as well. And this isn't I don't think it's a situation. Like if I said to you, Jared Allen, do you think Minnesota or Kansas City?
Vikings, totally.
But I don't think there's a wrong answer because he was really good for both. Okay. Bobby Orr.
That is probably me answering
Bobby
that
Orr,
as a
the Bruins
Lions
or the
fan.
Blackhawks, to me, it's not even close. Jerry Rice, a Niner, yeah. He was good in Oakland too, I'm not sure about Seattle because that's where he ended up. That seemed strange to me, hanging on. But there are certain guys, to me, they just epitomize the team, not just because that team drafted them. It doesn't have to be that case, but that's who they are. If Mike Trout left the Angels and went to the Brewers, all right, I don't care, and helped them make the playoffs and played a couple of years there in Milwaukee, you're not seeing him as a Brewer.
Well, you know what I think a good example of this is that you're alluding to? Freddie Freeman.
That is a good one.
Because it's well documented that he didn't want to leave Atlanta.
Right.
But he did. And then he wins with LA. And now it's like, okay, I still think in 20 years, 60,000 foot view, whatever you want to say, people will think of him as a Brave. But
really,
I think so.
He did go home, He did go home because he's from LA.
Yes, and he had an iconic
California
walk-off home run in the World Series. So that plays to your point as well. But I do think, and I guess time will tell. Thank you, Asia.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Only time will tell.
he has spent 4 years in Los Angeles. I don't know how far a guy or how long
or productive years, very good years.
I don't know how long a guy has to be in a new town for you to accept him as a new town. I don't know. That's up to the individual. But
yeah, and that's fair. I guess I just bring that up because
I get Justin Verlander all the time. Justin Verlander has to retire. He's got to go into the Hall of Fame with a Tigers cap, right, Shep? Well, Justin Verlander spent a long time in Detroit, 13. 7 years in Houston. Winning Cy Youngs in Houston. Winning championships in Houston. Why does he have to go in as a Tiger? Because
I think
they drafted him and because that's where he made his name. He enhanced the name in Houston. I'm not suggesting he go in as a Met or even as a San Francisco Giant. Okay.
Of course not.
But 7 productive years in Houston. Let me ask you this. He won 24 games once in Detroit. He's won 20 games or more twice in his career. Once in Detroit, once in Houston. Why was Detroit any more important? His best ERA season ever was in Houston at 1.75. I'm not saying that was his best year. His best year was 24-5, you would think, when he won the Cy Young. He won the Cy Young in 2019. He was 21-6. He had 34 starts that led the league. He led the league in innings pitched, the same stuff that he had in Detroit. And he had a whip of .80, which, by the way, was the best he's ever had.
Yeah, I'll say it. I think he's going to go in as a Astro. I really do. And I don't think Tigers fans should take offense to that. It's not like
take offense.
Well, they would, but I don't think they should.
They will.
Should they take offense to that? It's a novelty. Who cares? Sparky Anderson's in as a Red, right?
No. Yes, and we don't hold that against him, which is crazy. I do think it's a big deal. 100%, I think it's a big deal.
Okay, but it's not a sign of disrespect.
Your teams or your cities, when you brag about them, you these are some of the things you bring up. Look at how many Hall of Famers we have. Look at the all-time great. Can you put him on your all-time great team if he goes into the Hall of Fame as Houston Astro?
Yes.
Really?
I think, yeah.
I would say
I think Astros will do the same. Here's my point, Shep. You're right. You just laid out all the accomplishments he has with the Astros. I don't think it would be a slight to the Tigers if he chooses to go in as an Astro. You can still claim him because of all the things he did in Detroit as well. It's more a testament to him and his career and his longevity.
I'm saying what fans perceive. That would break Detroit fans' hearts. They
would
be pissed at Justin Verlander if he went in. Dude, think about this for a minute. There were people pissed that Kirk Gibson threw out the first pitch of the season in Los Angeles wearing a Dodgers uniform. You don't think they're going to be pissed off that Justin Verlander goes into the Hall of Fame as a Houston Astro instead of a Detroit Tiger? Come on.
That's a good point, but I guess my point is...
Of course they are. They're going to be
Tigers
overreactive to all of that.
That's what fans do. They're going to retire 35 for him, and when they do that, I don't think if he goes into the Hall of Fame as an Astro, they're going to boo him when he comes back to Detroit when they retire 35.
I'm not saying they're going to boo him, but I'm
just saying you can have it both ways.
Okay. This dude,
to an extent.
This dude's won 2 World Series. None in Detroit.
Yeah.
Jack Morris at least won a World Series in Detroit. You think they're going to retire 35?
Yeah.
I don't.
Really?
Really? Is he the best pitcher in franchise history? If he goes in,
I would say yes.
Houston Astro, he's not going to have number 35 retired.
Okay, so now this is an interesting thing because now you get into the optics of, and you bring up a good point of the disrespect towards the organization and who makes these decisions and that sort of thing. So I get that, but 2 things can be true. I have to imagine, obviously he's a Hall of Famer. I think he's going to go in as an Astro, and I think the Tigers are going to retire 35. Am I delusional for thinking all 3 of those things are happening?
No, I don't think you're delusional, but you always say 2 things can be true. Dude, Sergei Fedorov is one of the greatest Red Wings of all time. They haven't retired his jersey.
That's probably the number one example in the whole city. Yeah,
he's in the Hall of Fame as a Red Wing.
Yep.
So I don't understand why you think it's automatic. Like Hal Newhouser is probably their best pitcher of all time. Okay, he won 2 MVPs, dude. Okay, he also won a World Series. I don't know if you believe that has to be the be all end all, but what have we always said? If 2 guys are even here, what's the difference? Sometimes championships give you a little bit of an edge. Okay, one way or the other. He never won here. In fact, you could argue in 2006, a team on which he played, and a team on which he started, and lost to the Cardinals in the World Series, is arguably the most disappointing season of a team in Tigers history that made the World Series.
Sure.
I don't know what the conversation was when Ty Cobb and the Tigers went to 3 straight and lost 3 straight. But I'm talking about the modern era. That's all I'm saying. It's very interesting. I mean, I think I'm with you. First of all, I think he's probably the best Tigers pitcher of all time. Never did what Denny McLain did, though. Okay? So let's be careful. Because Denny McLain was MVP, Cy Young Award winner, the last one to win 30 games, and won a World Series.
But do you have to have the accolades and do what the former greats did to be considered the greatest? We asked the poll question last week, I think. Do you have to win a ring to be considered the greatest?
And what do people say?
And it's a good debate. Usually they say yes.
Yeah. It's hard.
And they
should. It's hard to put Dan Marino ahead of Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Joe Montana, Terry Bradshaw, John Elway. It's hard to put him there.
It's impossible.
You can fight for it. Well, why is it impossible? You can't talk out of both sides of your mouth. You can't say it's impossible to do that and then try to tell me that Justin Verlander is just because he was one of your favorite players.
Yeah, but I'm not saying JV's the best Tiger. I'm not saying he's the best pitcher ever. He's the best Tigers pitcher ever. But I'm not saying he's the greatest of all time as a pitcher in MLB history.
No. That's okay. That's fair. It's a fair distinction. Like the example for you would be, do you think people in Miami say Bob Greasy's better than Dan Marino? That's the better example, right?
Sure.
Yeah, I got it. Understood. 100%. Let's say Jared Goff wins a Super Bowl with the Lions this year.
Ooh, I know where you're going with this.
Is he better than Matthew Stafford?
Fans will fight to the death over it.
Yeah, it's a great debate. Let's get to the final results of the poll question from yesterday on the Daily Wager, brought to you by Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. These are the things that we just come up with and start thinking. Who's the greatest hockey player to never win a title? Adam Oates, Jerome McGinley, Marcel Dion, Dale Howardchuk. What was the final result?
Marcel Dion gets 45%.
Good one.
Jerome with 35%, 9% say Adam Oates, 9% say Dale Hawchuk. But Marcel Dion, overwhelming favorite here.
Our poll question for today, brought to you by MitchLionsWealth.com. Who's the greatest basketball player since 2000 or up until 2005 to never win a title? Barkley, Ewing, Malone, or Baylor? Vote as often as you like at XB Mornings. The results come your way tomorrow morning. The Daily Wager brought to you by Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort and their sportsbook Ascend. What did you have last night? And I think you had Tigers, right?
Yeah. Yesterday we had.
So it's a blow.
Yeah. And we'll roll it over into today. I still believe this is going to happen. Under 7 runs, Tigers, Pirates. Tarek Skubal on the bump for game 1. Let's be clear about that. Game 1. The Pirates are dead last in RBI in the MLB.
So you're not going NBA Finals tonight, huh?
Well, I you get your money back from yesterday. I think I can give another one. I'll take the Pacers +6. Would you have guessed that would be the spread tonight, Shep?
No.
To stave off elimination?
Nope, I wouldn't have.
Pacers at home.
It does show you the respect the Pacers have earned.
No doubt.
And I think that's a positive thing for sure. All right, that's the Daily Wager brought to you by Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort and their sportsbook, outstanding sportsbook. It's Ascend, and their Ascend burger is off the chain. I mean, it's really good. Forget the chain burger joints. Check out Ascend at Soaring Eagle and order the burger there. We're back with you tomorrow morning. Thanks for your phone calls. Thanks for listening. We appreciate the time, whether you're watching on